My brother and his wife are heading towards a divorce. She has Ehlers-Danlos and has been bedridden for 5 years. Edit. Wanted to just add a few edits to clarify some things that have been brought up in the replies because I think it may add some context for everyone calling me the devil and a negative influence on her healing. I do not hate my Sil. I love her. She is a good person. This post is me getting off 15 years of feelings for the first time. My brother and family, as far as I know, do not share any of the feelings below. I have not expressed them to anyone but here. This is simply me getting something off my chest. This was my own therapeutic way of wrestling with my feelings. God forbid any of you have had breaking points from festering frustrations. My niece is currently receiving help. My brother has put his life on hold to move to a hotel next to the treatment center, where he will drop her off and pick her up and be with her every day. He also continues to drive home several hours out of state to be back home to help care for his wife. My words below were not well thought out regarding my niece. I do not judge her. Everything she is going through is very serious, and we as a family are doing everything we can to help her. I use the word attention-seeking simply to describe her personality. She is a bubbly, loud, lovely girl. She seeks attention as much as any other kid, maybe a bit more extreme than the average. For everyone sharing their stories with EDS POTS, I truly appreciate your comments and know that I have read what you've said and will take it to heart. I think it will make me a more understanding person and help me wrestle with this. I am not convinced of anything below. I simply don't know how much, if anything, she is faking. It's simply how I feel. I don't feel good about it, and I have serious doubts. I put diagnosed in quotes because it took many years of searching for help before any doctor applied it to her. She self-diagnosed after years of not know what was going on, and then found some sort of specialist who deals with POTS and EDS who confirmed what she believed. Many have said several doctors confirmed, which I don't believe is true. The skeptic in me, right or wrong, put less weight on this diagnosis because of how difficult it was to get. I understand this is not a well-understood syndrome, so that would make sense. This is not the only case where she was diagnosed with something that did not turn out to be true. She was celiac for about 18 months before they realized that wasn't an issue. Now, it's one thing to hypothesize that this could be an issue and try it, but her status as celiac took over her life, and they operated as though it were a fact, including completely consuming her Facebook activity. Eventually, they determined through a genetic test that it wasn't an issue. Long one, but this is 15 years in the making. So my brother and his wife have been married for about 15 years. Ever since the beginning, I've always felt a little skeptical of her. She's a southern gal that likes to romanticize everything. Think a Facebook junkie that loves posting inspiring messages that are totally over the top. From the depths of my soul, I wish you all to find happiness in your life. I truly do. Never give up. Sasha miracles are real, Sasha has a plan, etc., that sort of shit. She's a sweetheart though and doesn't have a malicious bone in her body, but she's the type of person who wishes she lived in a Hallmark movie, and she loves attention. Over the last 15 years, she's had one thing happen to her after another. About 10 years ago, she also started feeling chronic pain and was more and more reclusive, opting to spend most of the time we visited them in bed. Now she wasn't ignoring us because we always made it a point to come up and even would spend time in their room watching movies and just talking, but for the most part, she stayed in bed. Eventually, it was determined that she had something called POTS, and then later Ehlers-Danlos. These were both pretty much self-diagnosed, and then confirmed by doctors. But since then, both of these afflictions have completely taken over her life. She started using a wheelchair, her body has deteriorated, she basically has 0 leg muscles, with a much larger upper body from eating terribly. She's had highly invasive procedures like spinal fusions, ports, and all sorts of other shit over the years. Everything is a miracle cure on Facebook, and she talks about how she's a girl boss. Guys, I did something today. I walked down the stairs to get a drink without my caregiver, is a typical post on Facebook. Of course, next week when I ask my brother how she's doing, she's had setbacks and is feeling worse than she was before. It's always 1 step forward and 3 steps back. What gets me is that these posts are obviously pity parties, but of course she would never ask people to cry for her and talk about how terrible things are. No, that's not what the protagonist does in a Hallmark movie. They have stiff upper lips. They are courageous. They never complain and live life to the fullest, despite how terrible things are. So she makes a post with her sitting in her wheelchair or wearing a neck brace, and will say things like, "Guys, I just had the best day ever. I sat up. Normally when I sit up I get lightheaded and pass out. But today, thanks to my 3 physical therapists, I've been able to sit up." These are the little things people sometimes take for granted, but I just had to share. EDs can't stop me. Girl boss, not today. So she gets a million likes and comments saying how proud they are of her and how she's an inspiration. We're all supposed to be so thrilled and excited, but all it really is a reminder that she's basically bedridden and should be pitied and lavished with attention. Thankfully, she hasn't tried to move into influencer status, and I honestly don't feel like she has financial incentives at heart. She simply craves the attention, the pity, and the status as being an inspiring role model for other people, and being the main character of her own Hallmark movie. And I fucking can't stand it. I think this is all bullshit. I'm sure she's in pain, but that's what happens when your body deteriorates from not doing shit for 10 years. She tries to solve all her issues with pills and procedures, but doesn't do fuck all when it comes to actually working hard at rehabilitating her body. I know EDS is a real thing, but I've also read how commonly it's faked. Certain types can be genetically tested for. Of course hers hasn't. Throughout all of this shit, my brother has been a fucking saint. He's never complained. Luckily, he owns a business that does well enough that nothing has led to financial issues, but it easily could have since nothing is covered by insurance. He's a very active and outgoing guy, so it kills me seeing him spend his entire young adult life basically being her caregiver. In the past year, however, he has reached a breaking point. He had a short-lived affair, realized life was slipping by, and immediately told her about it. She's forgiven him, and basically will say things like, "You can win me back, let's renew vows, get me another ring," all the bullshit you would see in a movie, of course. He knows deep down that he doesn't want to win her back, and has essentially been letting the relationship die over the past 9 months. He wants to take care of her financially, but wants out. He needs a life. Well, this past weekend, she finally sends a text saying that they are done, and the separation is moving forward. Oh, and what do you know? She has started making posts on Facebook about how she hasn't used her wheelchair in days. She can now walk a mile in a day when she couldn't walk 20 steps. Where the fuck was this 4 years ago when you maybe could have rehabilitated and lived an actual life? Where the fuck was this when my brother was wasting away his life, not traveling, not creating memories for his girls, having memories that he had growing up as a kid, going on hikes and going to the beach? On top of all of this, they have 2 daughters. The older one is 12 and is having all sorts of other issues, including anorexia and self-harm. I love her, but I see this as a response to the bullshit that her mom has put her through her entire life. She has always been an attention-seeking kid. She is also very sweet, but unfortunately I believe that all of these cries for help wouldn't be happening if her own mother wasn't the way she is. I know this last part makes me an asshole, and I honestly have no ill will towards the daughter. I think what she is doing to herself is very serious, and I don't want to take it lightly. But she is also a very sheltered girl, and it's hard not to believe that the mother isn't the root cause. I'm so happy that my brother is finally going to be rid of this soon. Obviously, he plans to take care of her financially in perpetuity, and isn't planning to have any toxic fights over money or custody. He will do what's right. The only thing now is that I'm terrified that one of her stupid followers is going to share what happened, and he somehow becomes some viral villain that gets crucified by assholes who have no idea what the actual situation is.